Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining in another live broadcast of Wind with Willie. And you know what my mantras are for 2022. First thing, it's a new year. Even though we are in the month of May, but it's still a new year, and it's also a new you. And of course, always, we no excuses for 2022. No excuses. And we have a responsibility to inspire until we expire. So thank you for joining Win with Willie Talk Show. What a great year it is for 2022. What we do not see, what most of us never suspect of existing, is a silent but irresistible power which comes to rescue of those who fight on in the face of discouragement. And that quote is by Napoleon Hill. But we all have that silent, irresistible power to fight on in the face of discouragement and opposition. And Win with Willie Talk Show is about encouraging us to fight on, to lead on, to serve on, to grow on, reaching our fullest God-given potential and becoming the best version of ourselves. See, the best gift you can give your family, your community, and your organization is the best version of yourself. And how do we become the best version of ourselves? I am so glad that you asked. We must first learn to lead ourselves, because you and I cannot give what we do not have. Ladies and gentlemen, I need for you to fasten your seatbelt. I need for the oxygen to come down, because you're going to need it today, because I have the distinct privilege on the talk show with me today, an aviational pioneer, General Lloyd Fig Newton. Now, before I get for General Newton to make any comments, you see that handsome face on the screen. So you take a good look and make sure you fasten your seatbelt. Matter of fact, as I read this bio, you're going to go, oh, you're going to do a lot of, oh, really? You're going to do a lot of that. So be prepared to take notes and listen to what General Newton is going to share with us today. General Lloyd W. Fig Newton is a retired executive vice president, Pratt and Whitney Military Engines, East Hartford, Connecticut. As an executive vice president, he was responsible for all aspects of customer service requirements, support, and services. He provided leadership and direction for all business development, aftermarket services, and activities associated with integrated logistics support and fleet management. He was also responsible for worldwide customer satisfaction and the continual growth of the military engine business, which was 1.3 million in annual revenue. A retired four-star general, General Newton joined Pratt and Whitney in September 2000 after a successful, listen to this, 34 and a half year career in the United States Air Force. And he's a Southern boy. I like to say that because he's a Southern boy. He was born in Richland, South Carolina, where he graduated from Jasper High School. Oh, it must have been a powerful high school. And he earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in aviation education and got commissioned as a second lieutenant from Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee in 1966. So yeah, he's still a young person. In 1985, he received a Master's of Art degree in Public Administration from George Washington University in Washington, D.C. Listen to this. The general is a command pilot with more than 4,000 flying hours in multiple aircraft. Let me plot these aircrafts off for you. T-37, T-38, F-4, F-15, F-16, C-12, and the F-117 stealth fighter. You didn't see him, but he was there. Okay. In 1968, he flew, blessed into my heart, 269 combat missions in Vietnam, and was later selected to join the Air Force Aerial Demonstration Squadron, the Thunderbirds, in November 1974, making him the first African-American pilot to fly with the team. From 1978 to 1982, he was assigned as an Air Force Congressional Liaison Officer with the U.S. House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. He has commanded 3 wings, an air division, and held numerous senior staff positions. He served as the Director of Operations, J3, United States Special Operations Command, and the Assistant Vice Chief of Staff, Headquarters, U.S. Air Force, Washington, D.C. General Newton culminated his Air Force career as the Commander, Air Education and Training Command, where he was responsible for recruiting, training, and educating all Air Force personnel. His command consisted of 13 bases, 43,000 active duty personnel, and 14,000 civilians. In 1998, General Newton was inducted into the South Carolina Aviation Hall of Fame, and in April 2005, he was appointed by President Bush to serve as Commission on the Defense 2005 Base Realignment Closure Commission. March of 2006, General Newton retired from Pratt & Whitney. Currently, he serves on the board of directors of L3Harris Corporation, National Business Aviation Association, Polaris Tech Charter School, and the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. In June of 2009, he was appointed by President Barack Obama to serve as the commissioner for the White House Fellows Program. General Newton is married to the former Eloise Marine, 32 years, and by the way, she's 5-star, and they reside in Bluffton, South Carolina. General Newton, welcome to Win with Willie Leadership Talk Show, sir. Say something to my audience.
Well, Professor, thank you so very much. You've been so gracious this morning. It is my distinct pleasure and honor to join you and all of your listeners out there in this program this morning. So thank you so very much for inviting me to be with you.
Well, absolutely, sir. I want to start this out because, sir, I feel honored. It's almost like I need to salute you. All the above, all the above. Pull your chair out for you, bring your water, bring your coffee, all the above. Do you like sugar in your coffee? Do you like tea? Whatever you desire. I am extremely honored, and I share the information with the organization that I associate in Allen, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, in my networking groups. Just the fact that I'm highlighting you, sir, in the accomplishments as the first African-American Thunderbird pilot. And sir, you know, you and I can go back to this Tuskegee Airmen. We can go back for many days and all the different things that those men went through and the challenges that they went through as well. But sir, I want to share this video before I ask you particular questions about this, because we're going to ask you about your leadership journey.
Okay.
But I want to share this video that I have I didn't put together. I just discovered it on the social media platform. I want my audience to see some of the highlights to capture that, and then I'll let you talk about your leadership journey and how you got to where you are today. But let me just share this video to kind of set the stage for my audience as who you are, and then you will definitely add the verbiage to this information. Let's share this video right quick. So, sir, the first question would be, tell the listeners, how did all this come about? How did all this come about, your leadership journey, and how do you get to where you are today?
Okay, well, again, thanks so very much. I reminisce a lot when you share those kinds of videos and film of my past experience. As you mentioned, I grew up in a small town in South Carolina called Ridgeland, South Carolina, but I've always been very interested in being in the armed forces, being in the military. And this is ever since I was a young kid. I had a cousin who was in the Army, and I just thought the world of a guy by the name of Lee Newton. And so I've always wanted to come in. So When I was in high school, a recruiter came by the school, and as it turns out, it was an Air Force recruiter. And the Air Force was relatively new at that time, and it was the newest thing on the block, so to speak. And so I, along with a number of my classmates, were sent to the library to listen to this recruiter. And I already knew what I wanted to do. The rest of my colleagues were trying to decide what they wanted to do. And so immediately, all of us that were there, I said, oh, yes, we'll go in. But during the following week, the recruiter said, I'll come back, give you the test, and, proceed on with the process. But during the week, one of my high school instructors asked me, he said, what's this I hear about you going in the military? So I was all excited, and I was telling him about what I was planning to go and do. And he suggested that, well, I thought maybe you'd go to college. Well, no one had really seriously talked with me about going to college at that point. And I'm in 11th grade. And so I took his advice. He said, I thought you've got a good head on your shoulder, Newton. You could go to college. So anyway, I took his advice, and I started preparing for that. And he also shared with me, you can go to college, and then you can still go in the military, and also you'll have a different option. You could be an officer, or you can go in enlisted, as I originally planned. And so I then started looking for places where I would go to school. Initially, much of my family lived in the Boston area. So I was planning to go to school there, except that one of my high school classmates and I were sitting down talking in the music room. I don't know why we happened to be in the music room, because I couldn't play a thing. He was a great musician. He played alto sax. And so we were talking about where we would go to college. And the music teacher said, did I hear you guys talk about going to college? We said, yes. He said, well, there's only one college to go to. Now we are really interested,
Uh-oh.
We said, where is that? He said, Tennessee State in Nashville. Said they got the best band in the country, because that's where he had been, and that's where he had, got his music degree. They have the best band in the United States, and they got the prettiest girls right up the street at this university. Well, we were in there.
Man, that's it.
Definitely in there. So anyway, I went to Tennessee State, and they had Air Force ROTC, which was mandatory. It was a state school. So all of this, the stars were aligned, the Lord was blessing me, and all of these things came together. So I went to Tennessee State, majored in aviation. I started off with mechanical engineering, then went over to aviation education. But being in ROTC, this was the first time I also had the opportunity to fly, because I was in aviation, in the aviation program, and in ROTC. So I wrote back home and told my parents, I said, guess what? I had a flight in an airplane. Well, immediately I got a letter back from my mom, says, boy, I thought we sent you there to go to school, not to go out and play around and fly. Anyway, I told them that was what I was majoring in. Got my degree, got my commission, as you mentioned, in 1966. But what happened in 1964, in 1964, I went to an air show at Seward Air Force Base right outside of Nashville, and I saw the Thunderbirds. And I was just in awe of what they were doing with airplanes, and I said, when I grow up, that's what I want to be. And so graduated from Tennessee State, came in, went to flight school at Williams out in Arizona, Williams Air Force Base. I knew I wanted fighters, and obviously we're right in the middle of the Vietnam War. So I got assigned to F-4 Phantoms, went to Vietnam in 1968, and but everything I was doing in the way of flying was all focused toward how can I get better and become a Thunderbird pilot. That was my goal. That was my objective. And to make the story even shorter, so all of that. And then I started applying once I reached the criteria, which was 1,000 hours of jet fighter time, jet trainer time, and less than 10 years in the Air Force. So I applied the first time and made it to the first step, but didn't get selected for the team. I applied the second time. I was stationed in the Philippines at this time. I'd already completed my Vietnam tour, back to the States, and now in the Philippines. But I was determined that this was what I really wanted to do. And there were a number of folks who suggested to me that, oh, you're just wasting your time. I continued to apply. I rotated back to the States then in 1973. And I applied for the third time, and the third time was the time I got selected. So I came on the team in 1974, and the rest of it's history. My dreams were realized, and the journey continued. It was extraordinary experience, and it was very, very exciting for me.
Sir, absolutely. I'm going to clap my hands because you just gave us almost gave us a commencement address, a part of a leadership dissertation, and a lot of key words that came out of that. But I'm going to ask you to elaborate on some of those key words. Not necessarily elaborate on those key words, but just kind of share with that high school student or that college student or just the adult that's getting told no. And what is the resolve, and what was in you, and what message would you share with them in spite of the no, in spite of the naysayers? What should they be doing? What message would you share with them? Because you have fulfilled it. Life is not a sprint, as you know, and is a marathon.
Right.
So what would you share with that group when they're getting those naysayers in their lives?
Well, number one, the first thing I would share, guess what? The naysayers who are trying to tell you what you cannot accomplish, they don't have a clue what your resolve can and should be. That's number one. And most of the time, they're trying to tell you something that you can't accomplish. And they've never accomplished that. So they don't know how easy or how hard it is. All they're doing is suggesting that you shouldn't go someplace where they know that they can't go. So don't pay any attention to them. And I tell people, particularly young people, all the time, do not let someone else live your dreams. You live your dreams. And so my dream was, again, to be in the military. My next dream was to be an Air Force Thunderbird pilot. And I just stuck with that. And I was going to continue until they told me, no, you can't apply anymore, Newton, to be on this team. And so I just continued to do it. So were there times when it was frustrating and maybe you had some doubt about it? Yes. But then you step back and say, no, this is what I really want to do. And as long as there's an opportunity to achieve what you want to achieve, then keep trying to achieve that. As long as you have that God-given power to make it happen, then make it happen. And it will, and it can.
And it can. I love it.
It definitely can. And once the other thing that I find that happens is if you're continuing to work hard and trying to be successful, a hand will reach out to help you. You don't know where that hand is coming from. You don't know what that hand is going to look like. You need to be prepared to take the hand when it comes your way. And so I suggest, again, don't give up on your dreams. Just keep trying. And those dreams can come true, can and will come true.
Live your dreams. I love that. Live your dreams.
Yes.
You never know. The law of magnetism, the law of attraction, and you are trying some way, a hand will reach out to you. You don't know where that hand is coming from. But if you're not trying, there's not a lot of hands going to reach out to you.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And I can tell you right now, for others who I try to help along the way, if they're not trying, why do I need to waste the effort? There are a lot of other folks who need my help, and I'd rather be helping those who are trying than those who just sitting back waiting for someone to give them something.
Mm-hmm.
Those are not the folks I'm looking for. I'm looking for folks, no matter how difficult it may seem, that are trying, and then I'm very willing to give them a hand. I quickly let them know, look, your circumstances does not determine your destiny. Your circumstances today does not determine where you can and should be. So don't let it do that. Stay with it. And I think that's for many people, that's the way it works.
That's the way it works. We did a talk show, part of the Maxwell certification. We had a guest presenter by the name of Kat Cole. And this is the first time I heard this, but I've heard it numerous times after that. And I've heard it used by other phenomenal speakers. But she took the word, the word fail, FAIL, and she turned it into an acronym. And it stands for First Attempt in Learning. First attempt in learning.
Perfect.
And literally, so that means that you're trying. And so the learning, look what the L stands for, learning.
Yes. Yes.
Because when you fail, what are the lessons learned that way you're not repeating that, and continue. And then I heard this other one that comes up that said the acronym of no, because I think you hear more, and you hear no a lot more than you ever hear yes.
Yes.
And so that no, if you have a positive desire and persistent and consistent, and you're going to follow your dreams, you're going to get told no quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I like this acronym, NO, new opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes.
New opportunity. Knock on the next door. Because long as you're knocking, somebody is bound to answer.
Yeah, sure.
But if you're not knocking, no one can answer.
Well, there's a saying that I like to use from General Chappie James. He said, you've got to be prepared when that opportunity comes along. He said, when you're prepared, you have your suitcase packed, it's sitting beside the door. So when opportunity knocks, you open the door, it's there, you pick up your suitcase, and James's word, and you smartly step out, he would say. And he inspired more, he definitely captured my attention.
Absolutely.
And he inspired more people with that saying. And you smartly step out and proceed on your journey. And that's the way it works.
Absolutely.
That is the way it works.
Well, let me acknowledge a couple of visitors. We got Montez Jones. Montez Jones, thank you for watching. Montez Jones is also a retired Air Force, retired Senior Master Sergeant. He's also a phenomenal coach, leader, and speaker with the Maxwell Leadership Certified team. That's how I met him through that, and we have connected. He lives in Arlington, Texas. And I say, Montez, thank you for watching. And then we got Clara Bridgeforth. She's also watching. I'm not sure exactly where she's from, but she's saying, absolutely, would love to talk to you and praise God. And she's looking for the book. We all love to read your book. And so I know, absolutely. I'm sure there's a book somewhere.
Yeah, well, there is one there. I recently completed a book along with a co-author, and the book was written and focused for junior high and high school students. So we focused the book there. The name of the book is Living the Dream. And so, yeah, it's there. Please take a look. It'll capture much of my life. But again, we were trying to inspire a young generation that is coming along, and it's been very helpful in that regard.
It's called Living the Dream. So let me see, can I add that right now? So that it right there, Living the Dream.
Living the Dream, and you can find it on Amazon, and I think it's also out there in Apple. Many of the bookstores carrying it as well.
Okay, there you are, Clara. Absolutely, Living the Dream. So there you are, Montez. My audience, go out on Amazon and find that book. And you're looking for the author, by the gentleman by the name of General Lloyd Fig Newton. And sir, we have to start right here. We got to go see those things in those acronyms right there. It says FIG.
Yeah.
We know what the last name is, and then all of a sudden, when did you get this when did you get this call sign? How did you create this call sign? Did someone give you this call sign?
Someone gave it to me. As a matter of fact, it happened near the end of my senior year at Tennessee State. Okay. A gentleman by the name of Howard Ball, and Ball's dad was the commander of my ROTC detachment, Howard Ball Sr. And Howard Ball Sr. is a Tuskegee Airman. Anyway, Junior and I were both coming in the Air Force, and out of the blue one day, I'm walking down the hall, and he just referred to me as Fig Newton, and it just kind of caught on. And Howard and I both of us went to the same flight training base at Williams Air Force Base, but he got there a couple of months ahead of me. When I arrived, he then started introducing me to others around the base. Oh, meet my good friend Fig Newton. And it caught on. And in Vietnam, you tried to put something on your name tag. So if you got shot down, the enemy wouldn't at least know who you were for the first 2 seconds. So when they asked me, what did I want on my name tag? I couldn't think of anything. I said, well, put Fig Newton. And again, everybody came to know me as Fig Newton, and it stuck from with Howard in 1966 until today. So
until today, well, of course, you and I was active duty part of the same time, and I remember you being AETC commander, and this General Fig Newton is AETC commander. And said, man, and then of course, when I was retired and worked for an ROTC junior ROTC instructor, and she remembered you as well. And we talked about I think she even probably worked under your command at that time, but a lot of folks worked under your command. So, but General Fig Newton, but sir, absolutely. What the follow up with that? You had mentioned some folks that are significant in your life. You had a Tuskegee Airman there at Tennessee State. But who were some of those mentors? Let's talk about those mentors and the significance and importance and some of the lessons learned from those mentors and how they impacted your career.
Sure. Well, it really started back at home in my little hometown. There were a number of folks in the community that I looked up to, and this was before mentoring as a term became fashionable. But there was guidance from them. Clearly, in my high school, there were teachers like the one I just mentioned. This gentleman was his name was Fort Shanklin, and so there were my teachers that were there, inspiring us that we can go and do more and be more than what we ever thought we could be. When I was in high school. And then at Tennessee State, the same thing. There was also a gentleman at Tennessee State. He was responsible and led the flight department at the school, a guy by the name of Cease Ryan. He was a civilian instructor for the Tuskegee Airmen while I was there. So I learned a lot from Cease Ryan. Number one, about flying and how exciting that could really be. And so all of these individuals really focused on, look, again, you can grow and you can become more than you ever thought you could. And that's exactly what happened for me. I mean, small time boy coming from South Carolina, I must admit, my vision and my thought wasn't very high coming out of that environment. However, getting to Tennessee State and then coming in the United States Air Force, it was extraordinary, So the more I would see and experience, the more I wanted to see and experience. And so I just continued with that. But those folks who, and many times I think, Professor, I think folks don't realize the impact they're having on you in demonstrating who they are and what they are, those folks who you see as role models for you. And that's happened a lot. General Chappie James, I mentioned Chappie James. I mean, James was bigger than life. And I can remember when I first saw him was at Tennessee State. He came to be a guest speaker for us, and he was sitting on the stage. But boy, when he stood up, I mean, he was like he unfolded himself out of that and stood up. And then his booming voice. I was sitting there as a cadet, and I probably didn't want to really be there, so I was all kind of slouched down in my chair. James got up and opened his mouth, and immediately I sat up.
Absolutely.
And so, again, another role model, another mentor. General James' son and I, Danny James, we were stationed together at Nellis, spent time together. So all of these folks inspired me along the way and mentored me and, gave me guidance. experience. But one thing I do remember very clearly from a couple of them of saying that, look, you work for this and you can get it. I'm not going to give it to you, but if you work for it, you can get it. And I just stayed focused on that. You know, I knew what I wanted to accomplish, and I stayed focused on trying to accomplish that. And it happened. Matter of fact, not only did that happen, that one goal or objective that I had, but many more wonderful things happened out of that experience. And it's amazing how those relationships, those connections are still happening today, and wonderful things are happening in my life because of that.
Look at this. There's another dissertation, sir. You just gave that's another chapter in your leadership journal, and you just gave another leadership dissertation. And one of the key words, if you work for it, you can do it. I share sometimes with some of my college students about the will. It's hard for me to teach you the will, but I can teach you the skill. You got to have the desire to do it. You got to have the desire to do it. And if you work for it, and you mentioned another thing about connection and relationship, the importance of mentoring. And I like the way you added that sometimes those role models don't recognize the impact they have on your life. And eventually one day you would go back and say, thank you for being a role model and a real model in my life. There's a gentleman that I talk to quite often. He's active duty Army colonel. He's a chaplain in the Army. He's the senior ranking Muslim chaplain in the United States Army. I don't know if you know that gentleman or not, but he's at U.S. CENTCOM right now. He's a CENTCOM command chaplain. And I like what he canned the word, listening to him, because he has an amazing story. He was on my show, and then every once in a while I'll email him, he'll talk. But and plus he's from East Texas, so he's really a country boy. He's really a country boy. But what he talked about, and I like what you just said, role model, and then there's a real model, that person that's being real with you and being authentic and being sincere and planting those positive seeds, said you can. I like what you said. If you work for it, you can accomplish. I'm not going to give it to you.
Yes.
I'm not going to give it to you. You got to work for it.
Right.
And that's a message. So I'm listening. Moms and dad, are you listening out there?
Professor, I will add one other thing, and I know you fully understand and appreciate this, and that is education. And I mean, we just can't emphasize that enough. It's back to that preparation that General James would talk about. Preparation, education, all of those things. But the educational part about it, there's a part in the book that we just referenced that from my father. My father grew up on a farm and had a second grade education, but he was a very, very smart man. And so we came home from school once, and my other two brothers were in school at Tennessee State, and I was home from the Air Force, and we were sitting around the fireplace and we were talking, and my father said, "What is the most important word in the dictionary?" And 4-letter word. What's the most important 4-letter word in the dictionary? And we started scrambling our brains trying to figure out what is Dad talking about here, So we started with love and all. He said, no. And we finally gave up. And he said, the word is no, K-N-O-W. He said, if you have knowledge, okay, you can be successful at anything. His point is continue education, continue that growth. And again, I went, wow, look at my dad, But it again, I suggest to folks that you can never get too much education. And for moms and dads, you need to really stress that with your children, because that levels the playing field for all of us, is to have that knowledge. So hang in there and go to school, get it.
Sir, I have a special treat for you, and it just happened. There's a gentleman just popped up on my comments, and I just mentioned his name a few minutes ago, about the chaplain in the United States Army at U.S. CENTCOM.
Wow.
And there he is.
Whoa, wow. Wow. Oh,
And
wow. Good
and there
morning.
he
Terrific.
and there he is, sir. Yeah,
Outstanding.
absolutely. And he would love, wow. He said, wow, what an incredible man. And
Thank
so,
you. Thank
so
you.
Chaplain, thank you, sir, for coming in. I really appreciate it. He know I love him dearly. And I tell you what, sir, you have another fan now. You have
Well,
another
great. I
fan.
love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So absolutely. He's an amazing gentleman. Sir, you have just been absolutely just, as we say, dissertation off the chain, drop the mic, all those different things, those pieces that we say. Sometimes we try to highlight and how great your presentation and what you're saying. I like to ask this question though, and you have been at the major level of command. I mean, at the highest level, and you have evaluated, you have assessed. What are some of the qualities you look for in commanders, or let's just say leaders, because it could be, it doesn't matter. I teach you, I do a lesson on the 360 leader. No matter where you are a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And what some of the qualities and what are you looking for a person as a leader?
Sure. And you know what I'm looking for in a leader is someone who will, and I know this sounds a bit trite, but someone who's really going to lead. That means, in my mind, you are responsible for this organization, this group, or whatever level you happen to be, but you're responsible for that. And I think you have to take ownership for that. And in doing so, that means that you have to help to make, and you have to make decisions about certain things. So, you know, the fastest way for someone who was working for me to get fired is not to make a decision. It doesn't have to always be the right decision, but making a non-decision doesn't work for me. That's why we have you as the leader. You know, there would be times when folks will say, well, I did it because the JAG said this, or I did it because whoever was advising me said to do that. And I want to know, okay, what was your decision? Sound like to me, you giving me their decision. I want to know, what did you want to do? And how did you feel about this? And like I said, I'm the first to admit, I won't get it right every time. And neither will any of us. We're human. I said, but I want you to make a decision, because that is what leaders do. That's what you have to take the responsibility. And also, I advise folks, look, in my mind, everything rises and falls on leadership. If the organization is doing terrific, look at the leadership. You'll find that great leader and leaders that are out there making it happen. If it's failing, look at the leadership, because someone has failed along the way. And you can't pass this off that somebody else failed, therefore you failed. Okay, that's not acceptable in my mind. It failed because either you failed or we failed. It has to be all inclusive. The other thing I'm looking for in a leader is to ensure that everybody in the organization, in the group, are full team members. Why do I say that? Because my philosophy in leading was, everybody in my organization, I want them to be full team members. But more importantly, I have to create an environment where they feel and act that way. Okay. And no one in my organization were any more important than anybody else. And I would tell them that straight out. I said, I'm no more important than anybody. I may have 4 stars, but I'm no more important than the young airman just moved into my organization last week, because all of us have a job to do. And it takes all of us to do our jobs to accomplish this mission. And if any of that failed, that's going to be the weak link in the chain. So I may have different responsibilities, but I'm not any more important. So we're all really important to this mission, and I need you to perform in that way. And so those are some of the traits I look for in leaders. And this is not about the leader. It's about all of the people. It's about us. It's about getting the mission done. It's not about who's going to get credit. I didn't need to, work to get the credit. I wanted to get the credit for all of us so that we could be successful in whatever mission it was and whatever group I was leading.
Look at that. Look at that. Another one of those moments. So absolutely. Leadership, everything rises and falls. And I'm hoping that my leaders listening out there, and they are, and they're taking notes, because if it's success, it's the team, it's the
Yes.
individual. I like what and you just paraphrased when General Flowers was on the show in his book of servant leadership. He said,
Yeah.
I never wanted to credit my
Yeah.
team members and members of my team. If it's going down, I'm at fault. If it's
Yeah.
going up, they're a success story, and I want to
Exactly.
highlight them. I want to highlight
Absolutely.
them, and it's about relationship and knowing. I love what you said. That airman just walked in the door. You and I was that airman in 1977, walking in the door in the security police career field in 1977. And when you don't, and you can feel the culture, you can
Sure.
feel the environment, and it's kind of, if you don't have the intellect, and sometimes you're not empowered to express that because of your current position or rank, and you can feel when people are connecting with you. And absolutely, you know that when you feel welcoming or you feel distance. And
I could, and I came up with that concept for myself because I could remember, particularly when I first got in the Air Force, it would be, the squadron, or maybe sometime at the wing level, we would be there. And I would ask myself, does anybody know that I'm here? Does anybody even care that I'm here? Does anybody know little old Fig Newton is here standing in the corner or over at the back or in the middle of the room or whatever? And I made it my business anytime I was going to have a command group together, command performance, where everybody came together at the end of the month and you had a commander's call or something like that. And we would be in a social environment. I tried to find that young person who thought that nobody knew that they were there. I tried to find them and say, hi, how are you? My name is Fig Newton. Where are you from? And usually, because I had been on the Thunderbirds, no matter where they said they were from, I could say, well, I've been there or someplace close to there. And their eyes would brighten up, and it would just be a great experience for all of us, So have them to be a part of the team. They have to be full members of the team, and then they'll perform for you.
And leaders establish that culture. Is what you're saying, sir. Leaders establish that organizational culture. They embrace that. Absolutely. They will perform. And it's not about the income. I like what Chaplain just said. It's about the outcome, because now you have embraced them. You have created a relationship with them, and they will now perform. Because guess what they have done, General? They have bought into you before they bought into the vision.
Yeah.
And once they buy into you, they'll buy into the vision. It's just absolutely amazing. Can I share this photo right quick? And then
Sure.
I just want to share this photo. So it's kind of a journey. It's kind of a caption of you. I like this photo, so I put it together. I'm going to share it anyway. So absolutely. Wow. You recognize anybody, ladies and gentlemen, did you notice that he does have some, he did, not anymore. He did have some hair. But I just wanted to share that with my audience, so they have an idea of what the journey. Because when I saw those pics, I mean, you still look. I just give people credit. You still look handsome because you still look young. I know you're not that age anymore, but the fact is, you have done a phenomenal job at taking care of yourself, and you still can. Could you get in that Thunderbird? Could you get back in that Thunderbird, sir?
It would be hard, but I'd give it a good try.
You give it a good shot. Okay. All right. Well, good deal. Well,
sir,
you. I want to share this, and then I'll close out in a few minutes. But I want to share this, and I want to read the narrative from this as well. And I want to make. I think you recognize this, but I want my audience to recognize this, and I want my audience to make a road trip. My call to action: meet Jennifer Newton, go buy the book, and then take a road trip to see this sign. Right there. It says right here, South Carolina General Assembly, 120th session, 2013-2014. Introduced into the Senate of January 8, 2013, to request that the Department of Transportation name the interchange located at exit 21 along the Interstate Highway 95 in Jasper County, South Carolina, General Lloyd W. Fig Newton Interchange, and erect appropriate markers or signs at this interchange that contain the words General Lloyd W. Fig Newton interchange, sir. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm challenging you. Take a road trip. There's cars already out there. Some may have stopped. The pictures show they'll stop, but they're already past the sign. I want you to come and take a picture of that sign. So next time you in Jasper County, South Carolina, you need to go and visit and take a picture of that sign and say that you were on this talk show as well with General Newton. You know who he is now, and you can go take a picture of his sign. You never know. One day there might be a statue along that highway of General Newton as well. So
yeah, and that's on Interstate. That's on Interstate 95. So
Interstate 95 is right. Is right. Is right there. Let me close out with this, sir, and ask you one more question. Let me pull my question bank.
One interesting note: the gentleman who that you just read about that put that in the Senate was Clemente Pinckney. Remember, he was a minister that got killed in Charleston, South Carolina. So Clemente was from my little hometown in Ridgeland, South Carolina.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Yes, he was a state senator, wasn't he?
That's exactly
absolutely, right. And he was pastor in that church.
That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. So that is very special. That is extremely special and memorable. Sir, let me ask this question right quick, then I get to one serious note because I want you to make some closing comments. But you still busy? You still busy? You working harder now, what I was assuming, because you had a staff when you was active duty and had a pretty large staff, and now it's just you, and you're still working hard. You have a staff?
No, I don't. if my wife says, "Don't be looking my way," I'm not going to be your secretary. So, but I think many of us, again, just as yourself, we retired from that fantastic opportunity of serving the nation, and we still want to serve, and we want to continue to give back. We still want to serve mankind, and my whole objective is to be able to help somebody be better tomorrow than they are today. And that's why I'm focused on education. That's why I focused on young people in that book. That's why I helped to start this charter school. And we're trying to, again, inspire people so that they know that they can be better than what they ever imagined that they could be, and that they can be bigger than what they ever imagined they could be, and they can belong to something that's bigger than themselves. That's us as people. That's us as the universe. That's us as Americans. All of that combined. That's why I serve. That's why I continue to serve. And it's been an inspiration. And I'm enjoying life. Even though we're still working, I'm enjoying life. So thanks.
Well, thank you, sir. That is a moment where we can say this has been a phenomenal broadcast. I'm going to still challenge my audience. I want you to go back and listen to this on YouTube because it's on my YouTube channel. And while you're there, you might as well go and subscribe so you can get notification when my next guest will arrive, because you never know who's going to pop up on the screen. And then also, I want you to buy the book. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you again. I'm going to keep it out there. I want you to go and buy Living the Dream. Absolutely. So you can read about General Newton. He's writing it for high school students and college students preparing for the next level in their life. Living the dream. You can. He said he gave us a lot of keywords today: persistence, work, and then those 4-letter words in the dictionary. Those 4-letter words. You gotta gain some knowledge. NKNOW. Absolutely. And plus, go take a picture. Go visit South Carolina. While you're there, you might as well go to Myrtle Beach as well. Absolutely. Yeah. So,
and come on down the Bluffton where I am. Myrtle Beach, there, all of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. General Newton, sir, thank you. Thank you for blessing us today. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule. Yes, sir. Thank you. Oh, no, sir. The honor goes to you. My audience out there is listening. I appreciate the comments, the folks that tuned in today. Some of them going to go and replay this video, listen to it again. It's on my Facebook, it's on my LinkedIn, and it's on my YouTube Live. And so, ladies and gentlemen, remember, every week at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, meet me here, because you never know who I'm going to have on this show. And I'm bringing some thought leaders, some great men, some great women that are making that impact. And what they are doing, they are inspiring until they expire. It doesn't matter. We're having birthdays, but Win with Willie is all about encouraging us to fight on, to lead on, to serve on, to grow on, to reaching our God-given potential. And you and I, the best gift we can give our family and our community and our organization is the best version of ourselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, meet me here next week. Remember, no excuses for 2022, and we must inspire until we expire.